Hi, everyone. Welcome to another LitChat. I'm Kate. This is Tara. And we are going to bring you a fairly short video, hopefully, unless we get to talking. We are going to launch a reading of The Great Gatsby. So she and I will be reading chapters for you to listen. We'll post it on YouTube and our social media accounts. You can follow along or treat us like an audiobook and just listen. But we're going to open it up with a short discussion of the book. What makes it so compelling? Why has it, been sustained as like a, great book in society, and give you a really quick synopsis if you're not familiar. The book is from the perspective of Nick, who it's his cousin's house, right? That he's like borrowing. I think he moves in.
Something like that. There's a family connection or somebody, he goes to New York from the Midwest,
right?
To
take a break.
Kind of find himself, I guess, after the war.
And his neighbor happens to be Jay Gatsby, who the book centers around. Multiple love stories, triangles.
Also, not all romantic love, I came to realize. Really, just the friendships, and I won't say much about the connections, but kind of an unconditional love that was platonic. So very interesting multi-levels. Or was it? Very many sub-levels that I would never have seen when we read it, in high school or.
Right.
So much more to it, much more. It's not an enormous tome. It's not like a huge book that it's quite slim. Looking to see where I put my copy of it. But there's so much in it that I think it's very deceptive.
Yes. Lots of 1920s glamour. As well as sort of the darker side.
For sure. And funny too, how going back now 100 years, where we look back upon those times, I think, as being so innocent and so just devoid of this kind of harshness that we seem to have developed in modern times, but really just as brutal, just as in many cases self-serving, just as duplicitous and kind of immoral.
Right. In some cases are huge.
Absolutely. So there's a lot that we can glean from then that, we've come so far, or have we?
That's always the question. So we will be taking turns reading chapters, and then at the end we will have hopefully a community discussion. We'll invite our listeners to come talk about the book with us.
Who knows, maybe we can find a speakeasy somewhere and all meet up.
Socially distanced.
Of course.
Do we want to touch on any more aspects of the novel before we launch into?
I would just kind of say, whether you've read it or not, whether you're very familiar with it or not, I think reading it right now is really timely. It's kind of the 100-year mark from when it was written and now. And I think people will be very intrigued by it. It gives us so much to think about, but also just, even if you just want to kind of go along for the decadence and the party life
and the drama,
it's really one of those books that kind of appeals to so many people. So I would say come along for the ride, give it a try, whether you've read it or not.
Right. And I have to
And-
say, if you read it in high school when you were required to do it, your opinion may very well change in either direction about it as an adult. So it's definitely worth a reread. I'll say my husband went through, I think he hasn't in the past couple of years, but he went through a period where he was reading it every year.
Wow.
So hopefully we can get him in on the discussion after we read it.
That would be great. That would be great to get his perspective. And it vaguely, just real quickly, and I think I've used this quote before. Well, I know I have because I read it and I loved it. But it's kind of like I read, and I can't remember who quoted it, that in Wuthering Heights, where Heathcliff at 18, you look at him as a hero. At 30, you look at him as a cad. And at 50, reading Wuthering Heights, you realize he's just human. So I kind of wonder
Yes.
what people will think of the actual characters.
Mm-hmm. All of them.
All of them.
Because while the book does focus a lot on Gatsby, obviously, the other characters are, pretty huge and have a lot of things going on themselves.
You're seeing Gatsby through someone else's eyes the whole time. So it's
right.
An interesting way to look at him as well. But I think we'll have a good time with this one.
Yes, I look forward to it.
As do I.
All right. Get your Charleston ready. All right, everyone. We'll see you soon.